So inshallah ta'ala jihad, we can begin with Kitab at-Tahara.
Chapter on the ruling of the types of water.
Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
General ruling of water.
Let's stop there and look at this Kitab at-Tahara. Kitab at-Tahara. Kitab of purification, right? Very clear. We understand that particular term. We're very familiar with that particular term. Let's just mention briefly the definition of Tahara. Briefly. The definition of Tahara, we say in English, we say what? Purification, right? This is the book of purification. This is what the term actually means lughatan, right? Lughatan, it means that which is being cleansed or purified, right? But istilahan, technically, and from a religious or legislative standpoint, it has a meaning that is a little more defined than just the word English purification. And that is the definition of رفع الحدث or ارتفاع الحدث وإزالة الخبث. And that is the raising or removing of al-hadith from oneself and the removal of impurities and filth. Whether it be hadith that is akbar, which is major, or what is asgar. Let's look briefly at this word hadith, because normally also it's difficult to translate some of these terms into English. Because sometimes we say spiritual or ritual impurity. Right? Al-mu'min la yanjus. The believer does not become impure, right, in that particular meaning. Hadath, it is a wasf. It is a description. It is describing something. Right? It is describing something. It is describing something that occurs that will prevent a person from actions of ibadat. You understand now? No. It's very important to understand them from those terminologies and that standpoint. It is a description, a wasf. It is a wasf that occurs that prevents a person from establishing certain acts of ibadat, like salat, mathalan. It is not necessarily an impurity of something that is necessarily his all of the time, right? Like a person thinks of something that is always something that is nasty or filthy or foul or something, not necessarily. Or tahara is the removal of najasat, those things that are filthy and impure. We've prayed, brother, already.
You did already?
We prayed, yes.
Okay.
And those things that are considered to be hadath or ahdath or an-najasat, they're not things that we come up with from our own aql. They are things that have been restricted specifically to the revelation, the legislation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not left up to the actual aql of the person to say that this is filth. right? Or this is impure, this is filthy. The mucus that comes out of a nose, right? In some societies around, or people, they consider that to be very nasty, filthy, whatever. But is this najasa? It's not najasa, right? It's not najasa. So we have with regards to the tahara of what? Tahara of al-ahdath wa najasat. Whether it be hadith that is asgar, which demands a person to do what? Make wudu. Or whether it be the hadith that is akbar, major, which demands a person to make what? Ghusl. Okay? Or whether it be the removal of al-khubuth or najasat from one's physical body, from one's clothes, from one's place that one is going to perform salat or worship or whatever in. The removal of it. Right? This is why the ulama, they use two different words. They use raf'ul hadith wa izalatul najas. Raf'ul hadith wa izalatul najas. The actual removal of najasat itself. The ayn of the najasa. The substance itself. Right? تفضل جهاد باب المياه. Chapter.
Chapter on the rulings of the types of water.
The author begins with the rulings of the type of water because the asl of at-tahara is with what? With water. Right?
Water was created pure and purifying. It purifies from ritual impurities, al-hadith, and physical impurities, and najasat. Purity cannot be attained from any liquid other than it.
Okay, so the author here, he explains to us that water was created how? It was created tahur. Not tuhur, tahur. Here, he's mentioning tahur, right? It is that which is tahir fi nafsihi, mutahhir li ghayrihi. It means that it is, as has been translated, that it is pure in and of itself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the water and sent down the ma min as-sama as what? Tahuran. He sent the water down from the heavens, from the sky, as something that is tahur, something that is pure in and of itself, right? In its original state, and it is also something that purifies other than it. Pure in and of itself, and it purifies other than it. You got it? Tell you. The division of water, according to the Hanabila, according to the madhab, that the water is divided into three types of water. We have water that is tahur, it has been mentioned here by Ibn Qudama. We have water that is tahir, and we have water that is considered to be najas. Water that is tahur, pure in and of itself, and it pures other than it. Water that is tahir, that is pure, but it doesn't what?
Purify.
You can't make wudu or ghusl with it. Alright? And water that is najis. And that is what? Completely what? Avoided. Completely impermissible to be used. Right? So this division here, even though you may read somewhere and you may find that it has been divided into two divisions, tahur and tahir. Alright? But it is, tahur and najis. Right? The other division, tahur and najis, not tahur and tahir. Tahur and najis. But here we're going to stick to what the madhab has mentioned, that it is tahur, tahir, and najis. How many divisions of water?
Three.
What are they?
Tahur, tahir, najis.
Tell you.
When the water reaches qulatan, two large containers, or it's flowing, then nothing can render it impure, except what changes its color, taste, or odor. Other than that would be rendered impure by any mixing with impurities.
This is a qullatan.
Is a qullatan. It is approximately 108 Damascus
Will be
pounds.
Dimishk. Will be Damascus pounds. Now let's look at this very briefly, make it much easier for us to understand. Here the author, we mentioned, he brings a question to us, a su'al, when does water become najis? It's basically what's going on now. He mentioned to us that water is created pure and purifying. Right? It purifies from that which is ahdath and that which is najasat. Right? Now he wants to mention to us of a question, when does water become najis then? Right? When does it become impure and not capable for us to use? The author, he goes on, he mentions an amount of water. He mentions a state of the water being in. What are those states of the water? The changing of color, the changing of taste, or the changing of what? Smell. Right? The changing of smell. But the author, he mentions here, he mentions an amount of water. He says, فَإِذَا بَلَغَ الْمَاءُ قُلَّتَيْنِ أَوْ كَانَ جَارِيًا. Al-Qulatayn, or Qulatan, has been mentioned here from the ancient or the old measuring of how they used to measure with 108 Damascus pounds. How do we understand it here now to make it very easy for us today? All right? One we say that is approximately, what we would look at to be approximately 50 gallons. Approximately 50 gallons. But an easier way to even look at that would be to simply understand, according to the madhab, that a little bit of water, if it is lesser than kullatan, a little bit of water, that it becomes, it becomes impure with the mere mixing of and something that is najis, something that is najisa, right? A little bit of water, for example, if it is lesser than a kullatan, right? A smaller amount of water, and some najasa goes into it, according to the madhab, and najasa goes into it, then the water becomes not able to be used for tahara. It becomes something that has been made impure. You understand?
You just said a little bit.
And a little bit of water. If it falls into a lot of water, larger than a kulatan, right? Or alkana jariyan, or this water that is moving, like you find at a creek, or you find at a stream, or water that is constantly flowing, and it's purifying itself, it is constantly flowing, then this does not render the water to be impure. Mathalan, a few drops of urine goes into a water that is jariyan. It is flowing. Does the water become najis or not? According to Ibn Qudam,
No.
not najis. A drop of impurity goes into a large body of water that is not jariyan, or a large piece of water that is not jariyan. Yanjus or lam yanjus? Does it become impure? Does it not become impure? The issue here of the changing of color, smell, or taste, has nothing to do with the small body of water. Sahih Sheikh? Nothing to do with the little bit of water. Even if it doesn't change the smell, color, or taste in lesser than a kulatayn, it still becomes impure. You understand? It still becomes impure. Tayyib? Also, connected to that there, for example, let me give you some examples. Sometimes the water can be changed and it's not necessarily become najis. Right? It can become tahir. It's tahir, but it's not tahur. For example, at one time this coffee was what? Ma. Right? Coffee was placed inside of it. What happened?
Change.
It changed. Is it najis?
No.
Is coffee najis?
No.
It's not najis. Is it tahur? Can you make wudu with it?
No.
Can't make wudu with it. Is it tahir? Either tahir or najis. It's not najis, then it has to be what? Relax. It has to be tahir, right? Or tea, or hibra, ink, or salt, or sugar. It changes the water from what? It's khilqa. It takes the water out of its natural state. Now let's look at another example. The water of the sea or the ocean. Does it have a smell, taste, change of smell, taste, color? Huh? What does the water of the ocean taste like? Salty. So now it has a change of taste. Right? Tahor? Can you purify yourself with it?
No.
Huh? Based upon what?
Based upon the hadith.
We're not talking about the hadith right now. Huh?
It's not najis.
It's not najis and it's also tahor. Why is it tahor?
Because it's natural water.
Because it's in its natural state. Ahsant. Even though it has a different smell than fresh water, even though they have a different color and a different taste than fresh water, it is in its natural state. Nothing artificially changed that. Another thing, for example, you may find a body of water, stream or something like that, or body of pond or something, and there falls from the trees that are on the banks of this leaves. What happens sometimes? The leaves are going to do what? They're going to change the color possibly of the water, or change something in the water. Does it become impure or not? Does it become water that you cannot make wudu or ghusl with? No, it does not become water that you cannot make wudu or ghusl with. Right? It has not changed the water from its natural state because of the falling in of leaves. Sometimes even water can be near something that has a particular smell to it, and the water may take on that particular smell. It doesn't take the water out of its natural state because of that natural incident that is going on around it of making it actually smell a certain way. Tayyib? So, in understanding this issue, it's clear, very easy. A small amount of water with a small amount of najasa or a large amount of najasa causes the water to be what? According to the madhab? Impure. A large body of water with a little bit of najasa
is impure to make.
A large body of water with a couple of drops of najasa, all the water is flowing.
It's still
permissible.
A large body of water with a large amount of najasa, it changes the water. What happened? It becomes najis. You understand?
Which one takes over?
Exactly. So a small amount, according to the madhab, with a little amount of najasa or a large amount of najasa, the water becomes impure. A large body of water, fawq al-qullatayn, above qullatayn, more than that large body of water, with a little bit of najasa, doesn't render the water impure, but a large amount of najasa placed inside of this could possibly render the water impure. So, yeah. Very important here. This bab of niyah, and there are other texts as well as explanations that go into very detailed issues concerning the bab of niyah. Fadl.
This is according to Umdat al-Fiqh.
No.
But according to what?
No. Okay. According to Umdat al-Fiqh.
Yeah, there is.
Jazakallah khair. Let's make that very clear. According to the text that we are studying. According to the text that we are studying. Barakallahu feek.
Mixing with pure substances and used water. And if something that is pure but not purifying was cooked within the water, or it was mixed with the water and it prevailed upon its name or characteristics, or if it was used in removing a ritual impurity, then it will be stripped of its attribute of being a purified.
So now some of the stuff that we have just mentioned, we proceeded ourselves, but some of the stuff that we've been just mentioned here, Ibn Qudama, he goes into a few different scenarios. If something that is pure but not purifying was cooked within the water, something that is pure but not purifying was cooked inside of the water or mixed with the water and it prevailed upon its name. For example, sometimes the water can become what? Can become broth. Alright? The broth is pure. That which causes it to become broth or soup or whatever it may be becomes pure. Or as we mentioned, the tea, or we mentioned ink, or we mentioned something like that, has been placed inside or cooked within the water, what happens?
The name.
And the name changes. It no longer becomes water. It takes the characteristics of that thing that has been placed inside of it, right? Or it was used in removing a ritual impurity. It was used to remove a ritual impurity, then it will be stripped of its attribute of being a purifier. Being used to remove a ritual impurity means someone used water. This is used water that someone used for impurity, meaning it touched their skin and it came off of their skin, and this is the leftover water from them using this to purify themselves. According to Ibn Qudama and Al-Umda, this is water that has been stripped of its tahuriyati, right? Tahuriyatihi. It has been stripped of its ability to be known as a pure fire. Also, if you want to write in your hashiyah, just for your own self, 2 notes connected to the issue of the qullatayn. There's a hadith of Ibn Umar that mentions that when the water reaches qullatayn, it does not carry any type of khubuth or impurity. It does not hold the impurity. The hadith is Ibn Umar. When the water reaches the qullatayn, or that large amount, it doesn't carry impurity.
هذا هو الذي ذكرته طبعا المذهب عند المتأخرين إن الماء إذا وقعت فيه نجاسة وقد تجاوز القلتين حتى وإن تغير أحد أوصافه فهو طهور.
طيب.
فلذلك هذه أول اختلاف الآن بين المتوسطين في هذا الكتاب والمتأخرين في الكتاب.
And you also have the hadith of, which is, I forgot to mention, something that also gives us a little clarity of that concerning water that flows. During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was something known as R.E.D.A. And this was something, the sisters?
No, I'm thinking about the one with the sisters.
Yes, when we studied in Bulugh al-Maram, yeah. That this was a well in which water in it was water that flowed, but the hiyad, the menstrual rags and things that was used from the women and the kilab and the dead carcasses of dogs and things like that were placed inside of this particular well. And they would use this same R.E.D.A, they would use the actual water from this particular well, as the Prophet ﷺ was asked about, and he said, Al-ma tahur la yunjisuhu shay. That water is pure and purifying, and nothing causes it to be impure. Now, of course, we know that there's a restriction to this. It's not to be understood absolutely. And that is based upon what? It's based upon the fact that if it is not jariyan, or it is a large amount of water, not a small amount of water. As this hadith is Hadith Abi Sa'id al-Khudri. Now, what did you have?
Doubts regarding purity. And if he has doubts regarding the purity of the water or something else, or its impurity, he should base his actions on certainty.
Tell you. After he says here, he goes into another scenario. Now the scenario concerning the water, if he has some type of doubts regarding the purity of the water. Is this water that I can use to purify myself? Has there happened, I don't know anything about this water, right? I come across this water. I don't know if anything has happened to this water. Or I had this water, and because of the circumstances, the qara'in around, maybe a child is around, and maybe it could have did something to the water, or maybe the water's in a place where something could have happened to it, near something that could have caused it to become impure or not. So now you're in doubt. Can I use this water to purify myself? Or can I not use this water to purify myself? Now, here the issue is based upon what? Yaqeen. Right? And yaqeen does not become removed by way of what? Doubt. This is a qa'idah, a very important principle. That yaqeen is not removed because of doubt. This is one scenario. You had water. You sure that this water at one time was pure. You left. You've been away. You come back. You don't know. Is this water pure or not? What are you going to do?
Rely on that.
Yaqeen. You knew it was pure. This is what the author is mentioning here. right? You knew that the water was pure. I had some pure water sitting in this particular bowl or this inal, this vessel, this gallon, this jug, this bucket. I know this water was pure. But because of some circumstances that's going around, I don't know, possibly had this water become impure. I don't know if my little son has a habit of doing stuff, putting stuff in it. Did he put anything in it? Did he urinate in? Did anything happen? Right? I don't know what happened. So, you're going to build your action based upon what you were certain of before. You were certain that it was pure before you left it. This is the religion. This is the ease of the religion that doesn't allow us to become taken away by waswasa. Right? If we think about and follow waswasa, we'll be in a mess. But don't follow the waswasa because it opens up doors to all types of things. Right? It make difficulty upon yourself. I'm sure that this water was pure. So now I'm going to base my judgment of how I use it upon what I was certain about previously. Tell you? Or opposite. Right? You're not sure. You wasn't sure from the beginning. Then you're going to do what? You're going to be careful. You're not going to use it. Right? You wasn't sure. But if you know you were sure, then you're going to base it upon that which is yaqeen. Tell you?
So what happens when you knew it was pure and you found out after you used it that it wasn't?
You knew it was pure.
Right.
And
You
you-
used it.
And you use it.
And then afterwards you found out that it wasn't.
When you found out that it wasn't pure afterwards, do you have to repeat your tahara?
عليكم
طيب.
السلام.
MashaAllah.
Tahara and what you did after that. If you prayed or something like you have to repeat all.
Yeah.
If the filthy spot on his garment or otherwise was obscured, he should wash off his garment or whatever else. What would be sufficient to make him certain he washed off the impurity?
So now this is an issue here, a scenario where the author he's mentioning, if there's a najasa that he doesn't know exactly what spot it was at on the garment, then he's going to do what? He's going to wash the whole garment. He's going to wash the garment so that he can make sure that he is what? Certain that the najasa has been removed from that spot. Another scenario. Yeah.
If pure water was confused with impure water, and he didn't find any other water, he should make tayammum and leave both the pure and impure water.
So now he has two types of water. He has water that is tahor and water that is najis. But he doesn't know which one. Which one is which. Right? He knows that there's that this water is pure, and this water was a najis. Maybe someone exchanged something that he had the water in. Or anything that caused him to be obscure to not know which one of these waters that I knew that I did have two types. I had one that is najis and I had one that is pure. But now I don't know which one is which. He's going to do what? He's going to make tayammum. And he's going to leave both of them, according to Ibn Qudam. No.
And if purifying water was confused with pure water that is not purifying, water previously used to remove impurities, then he should make wudu out of each one of them.
No. Here, this particular confusion is whether the water was concerning tahor bi tahir. The water became confused with not tahor and najis, but water that is tahor, pure and purifying, but another water that is just what? Just tahor. It cannot purify you, but it's clean. It's clean water. It's not najis. Then according to Ibn Qudama, he should do what? He should make wudu from both of those waters to be what? On the safe side. Okay? To be on the safe side. Clear, right? Wadi?
And if they are both clean and unclean garments, then you should pray a certain number of times equal to the number of unclean garments plus one.
هذا ما قلت
لا بس هذه مسألة أخرى.
وزاد صلاة.
مسألة أخرى.
No. Finish read again.
And if there are both clean and unclean garments,
Mm-hmm.
then
So you have garments that are clean. You have some garment that has some najasa on it, right? But now you don't know which one. Which one is the clean garment and which one had the najasa on the garment, right?
then you should pray a certain number of times equal to the number of unclean garments plus one. You should make each prayer in a different garment.
Right. So this is a situation here, according to Ibn Qudama, right? That to be careful or to try your best to make sure that the garment that you prayed in, at least you prayed in the actual clean garment, is that you should pray in all of the garments. That you should actually make a prayer in every last one of those garments. And then he says, and that you should increase plus one. So for example, he's mentioning here, he says the thiyab that is tahir bi najis, right? The thiyab tahir bi najisa. صلى في كل ثوب صلاة بعدد النجس. So now, for example, you have 4 garments that are najis, right? You're going to pray the 4 garments, and there's only going to be one. There's going to be one that's clean. You're going to pray how many salah? 5, right? You're going to pray 5. You're going to pray the 4, and then you're going to pray another one. You're going to add another one, based upon trying to make sure that you prayed in one of those garments that is tahir or tahir, right? This is go ahead.
It says times. It says a certain number of times equal to the number of unclean garments. So it's like it's specifying that he knows which one.
No.
Unclean.
Just in case, because this is an issue of ishtibah. He's confused.
Okay.
He doesn't actually know, but he has the garments. So the garments are there, the 4 or the 5 or the 6 or the 7 garments or whatever, or the 2 or the 3. Tayyib?
Oh,
He knows that there was a clean garment amongst these garments as well. But then there's also garments that are unclean. In order to make sure that he prays in the garment that is clean so that his salat will be a salat that is sahihah, he's going to pray in all of those garments, right? He's going to pray in all of those garments and increase one prayer.
in each one.
Not in each one, not increase one for each one like double, but he's going to pray, for example, if there's 4 garments, he's going to pray, وَزَادَ صَلَاتًا. He's going to what? Pray 5. You understand?
Yeah.
In order to make sure that the garment that he prayed in was a garment that was actually
One of them, yeah,
one of them.
is clean, yeah.
It's clean. He doesn't still know, but at least if you did, this is what he's saying. If you do this,
This is logic, yeah.
logic. If you do this, then there's no doubt you're going to have prayed in the clean garment. You may not know which one it is, but if you do it in this particular scenario, then there's no doubt you're going to have you're going to pray in the garment that is clean.
Yeah.
Tayyib.
So for instance, like Fajr prayer in the 4 unclean garments. So he pray what?
If it's 4 garments,
Yeah.
he's going to pray 5.
He's gonna pray 5.
And
so
all of them are unclean.
4 is unclean,
4 unclean.
and then 1 is
So you have
Clean.
5 now.
you have 5.
You
He's
have
going to
5
6.
garments.
You have 6. Sorry. So you praying
No,
Fajr.
no. You will pray 5. Only 5.
زاد صلاة.
زاد صلاة على الأنكلين.
That's why I say
Yeah.
when they say, and if they are
هذا
both
خطأ.
clean
Okay, هذا خطأ مني.
and
Yeah.
unclean garments,
Mm.
and then it says,
بعدد النجس وزاد صلاته بعدد النجس.
طيب.
Right. So you'll pray Fajr in each one of them.
In each one of them.
Okay.
In each one of them. So now you mentioned 5, then it'll be 5 salawat. طيب. You have 4 and 1 clean. طيب.
Yeah, so you prayed with the same number of the unclean plus 1.
Plus 1.
Okay?
Yeah.
For example, if you have 6 and 4 of them are unclean, okay, so you will pray also
So you'll pray
5. I know that 4 unclean. Okay, so I will pray with the first one, second one, third one, fourth one. Maybe I prayed with 2 clean and 2 unclean.
Right.
And I don't know. Maybe the worst case, I prayed with 4 unclean.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
One.
So that's why, to be in safe side, pray 5.
Right.
Because 5, it's 100% sure, you will be sure.
That you prayed in one clean.
You prayed at least with 1 clean. Maybe you prayed with
2
more than
Yeah.
1 clean. Yeah.
Yeah. What does she have?
Removing various impurities. The impurity of the dog and the pig should be washed 7 times, including 1 time with soil.
طيب تكسب نجاسة الكلب والخنزير 7 إحداهن بالتراب. So here the author is mentioning the removal of the impurities of the kalb and the khinzir, the pig. Alright? The impurities of the, as the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned concerning إذا ولغ القلب في إناء أحدكم فاغسلها 7 مرات و7 وإحداهن من تراب أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم أو أولاهن بالتراب أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم
ولمسلم أولاهن بالتراب
أولاهن بالتراب في رواية Muslim, that if a dog licks his tongue in the ina, in the vessel, in the bowl of something that any of you have, then let him wash it 7 times, and let it be one of those washings. And this is going to be whether it be the first or the last. Sometimes is a ikhtilaf based upon whether it's going to be the first washing with turab or the last one. One riwayah let one of those washings be with turab, and another riwayah let the first washing be with turab, dirt. Okay.
But it was clear it's only 7.
That
Not
is
7 plus 1.
No, it's 7, right?
Oh,
The one is included.
No.
So, now, then he also adds here, even though this is not from the nas of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also adds something else that is considered to be najis as well, and that is the khinzir. Tayyib. We take from the metin al-umda, we wash, according to Ibn Qudama, we wash the khinzir same way.
If it was connected.
We're not talking about the hadith right now.
No,
We're
if
talking
it was contaminated by
Aywa,
khinzir.
aywa, no.
So 7 times.
7 times, one of them being with dirt. Turab.
How do you say dog
He
there?
say wash.
Kalb.
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 He's saying wash 7 times, including 1. Okay.
Right? Either one of them being with turab, according to the riwayah, or the first one being with turab. Right? And this sometimes, when you think about it, when you think about it, sometimes you think the first using the coarse material of the turab, or as we sometimes use soap or powder or whatever to cleanse something. Before you do that, you put that in it to take it off, and then rinse it with water. All right? What did you have? It should be sufficient.
It shall be sufficient for the rest of the impurities to wash them 3 times until purified.
Everything else besides what was mentioned by the author here, kal khinzir, all of the other impurities or najasat, he says it is sufficient to wash them 3 times until the ayn of the najasa has been removed. Not necessarily all of the time is the color or the trace of the najasa going to be removed, but the ayn of the najasa in and of itself will be removed. Right? This is what he means here. To make sure that fi sa'ir najasat thalatha munqiyya, that he makes sure that he washes the rest of the impurities 3 times until that ayn of the impurity has been removed. Sometimes impurities are there, you're not going to get the stain off. So you won't think, again, waswasa, and think that it's still a problem if the stain is still there. But as long as the actual ayn of the najasa, the substance of the najasa itself has been removed, then this is, as Ibn Qudama, he said, yujzi. Right? It's sufficient.
And if the impurities on the ground, then pouring over it will remove its harm. Because of the saying of the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so pour upon the urine of the Bedouin 1 bucket full of water.
Hadith, well known. The Bedouin came into the masjid and he urinated, and the Prophet ﷺ, he told the people to do what? Sabbu Dhunuban bin Ma upon the bowel of the Bedouin Arab, right? On the ground. How many? What did he say? One time, right? And it removed its impurity.
It's sufficient to remove the impurity of a male infant's urine that hasn't started eating regular food to sprinkle the area with water so it's wet but not soaked.
This is an issue here with regards to an-nadh. An-nadh, it is dealing with the little boy who has not yet begun to eat food as a predominant nature of him. Not saying that he can't eat food, right? The mother may feed him some food, some solid food. Remember, we're talking about solid food now. He still breastfeeding, but he's not at that state where he actually is of the habit of eating solid food. So if he's in that particular state, he's a boy, and his urine, how do you clean his urine? And another is sprinkling water over the actual spot where the actual urine soiled or fell on, right? So now Ibn Qudamah, he mentions here concerning the removal of these najasat. In B, he's mentioning places other than the ground. The ground is differing, according to his ruling, than other places. In other places, he said that it must be washed 3 times. If it's on the ground, he said what? As-sabba wahida, just one pouring of water over that, then that will remove the najasa from the ard, from the actual ground. There's a difference between the two. B, he's mentioning what? Places other than the ground. C, he's mentioning just the ground. Soaking. Yeah, just the ground. D, now he goes into the actual bowel of ghulam alladhi lam ya'kul at-ta'am an-nadh. And this is taking it and sprinkling the water over the actual area, but it doesn't have to be what? Sabba. It doesn't have to be taking a cup of water and pouring a whole cup of water over that particular spot where the issue of the urine has soiled. And this is, as we were mentioned, أليس كذلك شيء التعبدي. التعبدي, because he doesn't mention the girl. He doesn't mention the girl. The person say, well, what about why only a boy? And there's different hikam and different things that the ulama have mentioned concerning this reason, but it is whether we know the reason behind it or not, the hikmah behind it or not, the illah behind it or not, it doesn't matter. This is an affair that is a ta'abbudi, right? This is what we do it based upon the fact that we have been commanded to do it, whether we know the illah, the reason, the justification, or the wisdom behind it. طيب? Although there has been discussions in the larger books of ilm and explanations of hadith, why the difference between the gulam or the jariyah that you can't make nadh for the girl. طيب? E.
Likewise, prostatic secretions al-madhi takes this same ruling as a male infant's urine. A trivial amount of it, al-madhi, will be excused.
Abdul Razak, فهمت? You understand madhi? Madhi. Sometimes we have to explain this as well. This is mentioned as prostatic fluid, as we say in English, or prostatic secretions. That which comes out at times by way of shahwa or duni shahwa.
So we say pre-ejaculation.
No, necessarily right here.
Okay,
We're going to stick to.
male infant.
We moved on.
But
E. Prostatic.
The same ruling as the
Taking
male.
on.
The prostatic secretion. Meaning what? It'll take the same ruling of an-nadh. Not many. We're talking about madhi here. Talking about something different. Sometimes people get them mixed up, and we're going to get to that as well. But just look at the word. I just wanted you to see the difference between the word. Sometimes people interchange them or they get them mixed up. We're talking about here madhi, which is known as prostatic secretion. Sometimes for a male, we speak practical, Sometimes this can come out of a male without even desire. The male could use the restroom. You sit down, use the restroom. After he finishes, this can come out. It can come out when he's just moving around. It can come out, right? It's not necessarily something that comes out due to sexual desire, right? It is not an ejaculation. It's not ejaculation. And many men, Muslim men, if they ever experience that, the first time they experience it, you'll hear people ask that question, that they really thought that once it happened, they had to make a ghusl. They thought they had to make a ghusl when it happened. I've met brothers that it happened to them.
بس أنا أعتقد المذي لا يأتي إلا بشهوة.
Prosthetic? Or is this wadi?
المذي لا يأتي إلا بشهوة. الذي يأتي بعد البول هذا اسمه الودي.
Wadi. I mixed them up.
بس أنا لا أعرف الترجمة الإنجليزية يعني prosthetic secretion هل هي المذي أم لا أعرف.
Yeah, prosthetic secretion. Prosthetic secretion
That's pre, right?
is considered to be, that's what we would call
Pre-ejaculation.
لا أعتقد أن المذي
prosthetic secretion.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. حياكم الله. الحمد لله. كيف حالك؟ الحمد لله. بارك الله فيك.
اسف انترفت. هذا اخوكم عبد العزيز من الرياض من السعوديه.
بارك الله فيك. الحمد لله. أهلا
زائر
وسهلا.
ومتجه الى واشنطن ووقفنا للصلاه بس.
الحمد لله.
وهذا بعض التمر من الرياض، اتمنى انكم تقبلونه كهديه.
الله حياكم الله
الله
وبياكم.
يبارك فيكم.
بارك الله. الحمد
والله
لله.
يتقبل
أهلا
منكم ان
وسهلا.
شاء الله.
الحمد
الله على
لله.
خير.
ما شاء الله.
في
أنا
أمان
أخوك عبد الباري.
عبد الباري.
عبد
انا
الباري.
عمواكم
الحمد
عبد
لله.
الباري.
ما شاء
الله
الله.
ينفع بكم ما شاء الله. مسجد
محمد.
طيب. انا عمواكم اخي محمد. عبد الرزاق. انا عمواكم. الله يحفظكم.
الحمد
اشوفكم
لله.
على خير ان شاء الله.
الحمد لله.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
جزاكم الله خيرا على الهدية.
جزاكم الله خير. وقفنا الآن عند هذه المسألة إن شاء الله. نقف الآن هذه المسألة إن شاء الله. نعم.
طيب علمها وراجعها في لو عندك
نعم.
if you have a dictionary for the
medical.
medical or I don't know if
Or the
Sharia
term,
terms or
English term.
something.
أيوة.
Okay. Look for if the translation is correct or not.
طيب في اللغة العربية الآن بين لنا الفرق بين المني والمذي والودي.
طيب
أنا أترجم.
المني لونه من حيث اللون، المني لونه أبيض.
أيوة.
كويس. المذي لا لونه شفاف.
أيوة.
كويس. الودي لونه شفاف يميل إلى الصفرة. طيب فرق آخر، المني يخرج متدفقا، المذي لا يخرج بكميات أقل، لا يخرج مثل المني، المني يخرج متدفقا أكثر. الودي لا يخرج إلا بعد البول ويكون شبه متصل. هذا هو الفرق بينهم، يعني الودي يخرج متصلا ويخرج بعد بول. مذي يخرج بشهوة. المني قد هو يخرج بشهوة طبعا ولكن دافقا ولونه أبيض. هذا هو الفرق الأساسي بين المني والإيه
طيب. So this is what you can also say as well, Jihad, which your translation was
Premature.
The mani is the fluid, of course, that we say the semen that comes out that is white and it comes out with force, right? After ejaculation. Mani.
ماء دافق.
It is white, it is thick, and it comes out with force. Medhi, it is clearer and not as white as the many, and it doesn't come out dafiq, right? It is that which
like they say,
force,
secrete.
secretion. It comes out, a little as it comes out. Wadi is what we mentioned. That was my mistake. What we mentioned that comes out that I mentioned after you use the urination. After you urinate, and it comes out. That's connected to right after the urination. It comes right out after the urination. Okay. This is what I mistakenly of a translation, what I thought you would call prosthetic secretion. And so we'll also in English we'll look up these medical terms and see which is better, especially even for those who may be listening as well. You can also check this out.
So the one that you say comes after the urination, and the one that comes premature is still clear. They take the same.
The wadi comes out also with a yellowish color to it as well. طيب, as the Sheikh mentioned. طيب.
الودي نجس.
أيوة.
الودي نجس لأنه غالبا يختلط بالبول.
نعم.
فلذلك لا يتكلم عنه الشيخ وأنه يقول إن هو يجزئ فيه النطح.
نعم.
لأنه مثل البول وهو بول البالغ.
أيوة.
فهو يعني قطعا نجس.
نعم.
المني طاهر. المذي نجس أيضا.
أيوة.
ولكن نجاسته أخف من الآخر لأنه لا يختلط بالبول.
أيوة. just wudu. والاستنجاء والوضوء.
So, many لا نجس.
المني.
We're going to get to that inshallah. مني الآدمي. We'll get to that inshallah. Go ahead, read it again, Sheikh. Jihad.
Read that one again.
Read E again.
Likewise, prostatic secretions, al-madi, takes the same ruling as a male infant's urine. A trivial amount of it, al-madi, will be excused. Likewise, the trivial amount of blood and its byproducts of pus, purulent matter, and similar things are all exempt.
Important point, he mentions a small amount. A large amount, a different story. So a small amount, it is bypassed or it is looked over. A large amount, then it is something that is considered to be najis. That's
When you say
semen and
trivial,
urine,
that meaning large, right?
trivial is a little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
The trivial amount is that which is not repugnant. The ruling of vessels.
Semen and urine of livestock. Okay, that's the ending of this bab.
Semen and urine of livestock. The semen of a human and the urine of the animals whose flesh can be eaten are all pure.
Are all pure. Many al-adami, the semen of the human being, is considered to be something that is tahir. Right? As the Messenger of Allah sallam, if there befall them his thawb, sallam, something of the mani, that as Aisha radiallahu ta'ala had mentioned, that he would scrape it and remove it off, and he would still go out to pray. Had it been najis, what would happen? Can't pray in that garment. Right? Also, the bal ma yuqal lahmuhu tahir. The urine of the animal in which it is permissible for us to eat its meat. Al-ibl, wal-baqar, wal-ghanam, all of these things. Right? The camel, cow, sheep, goat, these animals that we can eat their meat, then their urine is not considered to be najis. As a matter of fact, we know that it's permissible for the people, as the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the tribe of the Arabs, that they what? Drink the bowl of the camel. Right? And it's not considered to be something that is najis.
Was it like some kind of medical thing?
Not considered to be najis. Of the animal that the meat can be eaten. Now, if there's an animal that you can't eat its meat, then its urine is going to consider to be what? It's going to consider to be what? Najis. Alright? And as we mentioned earlier today, we're going to get into that issue with regards to the size of the animal. We can bypass that, inshallah. But this is very clear. The urine of the animal that we can eat its meat, then its urine is considered to be tahir. Right? It's considered to be tahir. Very clear. Unit 2, Jihad.
Utensils and lavatory.
Bab al-Aniya. This is the bab known as Bab al-Aniya.
Bab al-Aniya.
Aniya. And what is considered to be after that is Qada al-Haja, lavatory. You know. When we were young in school, ibtidaiya, you learn this word, you say, yarfu yaday, and say, may I please go to the lavatory. لقضاء الحاجة. Lavatory. Instead of bathroom, they taught us lavatory. You remember that?
More official.
Yeah.
It's more official.
Yeah. We don't say bathroom. They taught us lavatory because even if you look at the word bathroom, it's not a place where you bathe.
Right.
It's just a toilet and a sink. So they taught us, man, please use the lavatory, more proper, in school. I haven't used that word in many years as well. Many
For
years.
me, this is the first time to
Yeah,
see it.
many years.
Lavatory.
Yes, very proper in English. It's widely used, yes. Proper. Bab al-Aniya, Jihad. This is known as Abdul Razak Bab al-Aniya. So after the author, he mentions the Bab of Kitab al-Tahara, Bab al-Miyah. He goes on to mention al-Aniya. What is the hikmah behind this? Right? Or the logic behind this? Because what do you normally put water in? You put it in vessels. You put it in something to hold the water. So now we need to know everything in our religion has been explained to us and made clear, halal and haram, what can be used and what not. Now we need to understand what kind of vessels are we allowed to use to put this water in, whether it be for tahara or غيرها, or other than tahara. طيب?
Forbidden utensils. It is not lawful to use gold and silver vessels in purification or otherwise, like eating and makeup. That is because of the statement of the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not drink in gold or silver vessels, and do not eat in dishes made of them.
Now here, even though Ibn Qudama rahimahullah ta'ala in the matan لا يجوز استعمال آنية الذهب والفضة وفي الطهارة ولا غيرها. The translator here, for some reason, he says that this is that silver vessel purification, or otherwise like eating and makeup. He adds this is from the addition. It's not from the matan, but it's from the addition of the translator. They're mentioning like eating and makeup to make it clear for us. So it
wouldn't be something like.
It's not from the text itself.
Okay.
So that is because started back at that. That is because
that is because of the statement of the Messenger of Allah: do not drink in gold or silver vessels, and do not eat in dishes made of them, for they are for them unbelievers in this life, and for you in the hereafter.
That's clear. The text of the Messenger of Allah was something clear, and also from that you can see where Ibn Qudama rahimahullah ta'ala took his view of وَلَا غَيْرِهَا فِي الطَّهَارَةِ وَلَا غَيْرِهَا استعمال آنية الذهب والفضة في الطهارة ولا غيرها. Even though the Prophet ﷺ, he said لا تأكلوا, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said لا تشربوا في آنية الذهب والفضة ولا تأكلوا في صحافها. Do not eat or drink from them, right? He took from this, he said in tahara or anything else besides that. Why is that? What does the end of the hadith say?
It's for the believers.
فَإِنَّهَا لَهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَلَكُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ. So if it is for them in this dunya and for you in the hereafter, then it means what? Not only in eating and drinking. The author, he took the ruling that not in tahara or not in using them for anything else. طيب? Otherwise, the asl of using things to hold your water or eat and drink out of and eat and drink with is what? Halal. It's halal.
The ruling of vessels soldered by them is likewise, except if it was a small silver solder.
Here, this is a mas'ala in which we were discussing in Bulugh al-Maram, remember? The questions that people were mentioning, what about those plates that we have that have some type of gold around them or silver around them? Is it permissible to use them or not, even though the origin of the plate is not gold or silver? We mentioned here that there's a ruling or there's a condition. These cannot be used unless the vessel is a vessel that is mudabbab, is soldered with silver, right? It is soldered with silver, and it is only placed there out of need, and it's a little amount. Has to be silver, it has to be a small amount, and it has to be for need. So if there's a need, as the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala an, he said that the Prophet ﷺ, he had a cup that had a break in it. And the Prophet ﷺ, he made the mudabbab with the cup was soldered with an amount of silver. You understand?
Welded.
It was welded or soldered, as we mentioned, right? Placed a amount of melted, as you take the hot thing and the metal and you solder it down to fix the crack. And this is where we understand that a small amount and that it can be silver out of need can be used. Other than that, no vessels that contain gold or silver, eating or drinking out of them or using them for tahara or ghayriha.
Allowable vessels. It is permissible to use all pure vessels and possesses them. Likewise, in the usage of the vessels and utensils of the people of the book and their clothes, unless they are known to be impure.
طيب. So then the author mentions that besides these two, it's permissible for us to look at the beauty of the shar, beauty of the legislation. There are not many things that have been prohibited from us besides these two. Then go ahead and use all of the other ones that are considered to be pure. And also utilizing the vessels and the utensils of the people of the book, as well as wearing their clothes, provided that one does not know and find out that there's any type of impurity that has been placed in these particular plates. Method. Many of us, as new Muslims converted to Islam, you find brothers saying, I don't eat in my family's house anymore because I know they cook khinzir. So I don't use their cups, I don't use their plates, I don't use anything outside of I don't use anything in their house. You've heard this before, right? Because of this, I don't eat anything, I don't use anything, I don't drink out of anything. This is ghulu, right? Provided that we don't know that this particular thing it has been cleaned or this has not been used for anything impure, it doesn't have any najas in it at that time, then it's permissible to use. The Messenger of Allah, his companions, they used the vessels of the people of Shirk. They used the vessels of the people of the Kitabiyun, the Jews and the Christians, right? So this shows us that it's very important that we don't go to extremes in the religion, as well as the clothes of the people of the book. We can wear their clothes. You can take a garment from a person who is a non-Muslim, provided that you know that there is no impurity that is on this particular garment.
Pure and impure parts of dead animals. The wool of dead animals and their hair is pure. Every hide of non-slaughtered dead animals, whether it has been tanned or not, is impure.
Two different things here. So now we're talking about suf and hair. We're talking about wool and hair. Or, as Sheikh Muhammad mentioned earlier and added in Akhtar al-Mukhtasarat, feathers. Feathers of birds as well. Wool, hair, or feathers of birds that are meita. What does meita mean? Make sure we understand the mas'ala. What is meita?
That's allowed.
And no, an animal that has died.
By way of
Natural.
Natural, yeah, natural.
Okay.
Natural
I
death,
didn't
but
kill
out being slaughtered.
Okay.
Any particular way that it dies naturally, right? Or being killed by another animal, right? Or dying naturally, or whatever it may be. The animal that you have not made, dhabh, you have not slaughtered that animal, this is considered to be, if it dies, it is considered to be meita. Their hair and the suf or the wool is considered to be what?
Impure.
It's considered to be what?
It's pure.
I mean pure.
Pure. But the skin that is under that hair, that is taken off, is considered to be, of the meta is considered to be what?
Impure.
Whether it is tanned or it is not tanned.
Yeah, you used to hear that.
Whether it is tanned or whether it has not been tanned, meaning it has not been treated and has not been gone through the process of tanning. You know what tanning is, when they turn it into leather, right? Is whether it's been turned into tanned or has not been tanned. Whatever process that they use nowadays to actually do that, chemically or non-chemically. As well as the bones. As well as the bones. طيب. Keep going. وكل ميتة نجسة إلا. The next page should be translation.
Every dead body is filthy except that of humans.
Except the human being.
Except that of humans
And
the sea creatures that do not live except in it.
very important. حيوان الماء الذي لا يعيش إلا فيه غالبا. Except the animals that live predominantly in the ocean. This is where they live at. This is their place. And notice he didn't say fish. He said hayawan. Didn't say just fish. He said hayawan. Because, for example, Sheikh Muhammad, there are animals in the sea that take on names of animals that are on land that we consider to be impermissible.
Yeah.
Right?
Asad
al-Bahr, Kalb al-Bahr, right? Dog of the ocean, lion of the ocean. Even though it has that name, it doesn't mean it becomes haram for us because it takes that name. So I said hayawan. He didn't say just samak or anything like that. The animals of the sea that only live in there. Even the kalb of the bahr or the asad of the bahr. All of these things. Right? Very important to know that. And we know that based upon from the Bab of Miyah as well as this here, the asl of the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ asked about the ma al-bahr, and he said what? At-tahur ma'uhu al-hil maytatuhu. That its water is pure and purifying, and it's dead, or it's meta, that which comes out of it, dead naturally, that has not been slaughtered, is permissible for us to eat. طيب. Further jihad.
So you just mentioned that.
No, you mentioned it.
Because of the statement of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding the sea, its water is pure and its dead animals are permissible to eat.
Remember,
And that which does not have blood, as long as it did not emanate from filth.
and his water is pure and purifying, not just pure. You can make wudu and ghusl with his water. And that which is what, the last?
And that which does not have blood, as long as it did not emanate from filth.
This is also like, for example, a gnat, a small gnat that lands on our hand. We knock it off, right? This is an animal that is not najis. The blood from it is not najis that comes out of it, right? Or as long as it is not something that, with regards to, read it again.
Emanate from filth.
As long as it does not emanate from filth. طيب? It's not a, like, for example, a roach.
What
Let me
about
say roach in Arabic. Sirsus.
Cockroach.
Cockroach.
Sursur.
Sursus, right? This is
Sursur.
sursur.
what about a maggot?
A maggot. Maggot is those small things that's inside of rotten food and
Flies. They come from
flies. The larva.
Maggots.
The larva from the fly, from the dubab. The dubab like dude.
يرقة.
يرقة.
يرقة it's larva.
larva ايوه. قبل الذباب. الذبابة أصبحت الذبابة. قبلها الدود.
It's larva.
ايوه.
Then there is two different life cycles. في complete life cycle and incomplete life cycle. Incomplete life cycle contains 3 stages. One is the
biology.
Let's say the complete insect, the fly. Okay, and this fly will give eggs. These eggs could give us pupa. Pupa give the complete insect again is the fly. Or eggs give larva, larva give uh, uh, pupa. So the first one is not pupa exactly. We call it another name. So larva, eggs, larva, pupa, then the complete. But you are asking now about a specific insect. So I could suggest you, if you have Google or something like that, you can write the name. I can see the picture. Maybe I know the name.
Because we usually know that is in, like, it'd be like a dead rat or something, or even in a trash can.
Yeah, this is automatically najis from dead animals or something that's coming like that. It's considered to be najis.
Yeah.
طيب. باب قضاء الحاجة.
Chapter on using the lavatory. What to say and do when entering the lavatory. It is recommended for the one.
Pay close attention now. This is another important thing to pay close attention when you're reading the books of fiqh. The author, he says what? Pay close attention to wordings. Yustahab. So now he's mentioning here from what? The mustahabbat of qada al-haja. Always pay attention to the wording. Don't just read. When you read, pay attention to wording. Because this is not even English. English has its meaning at times, so it says it's recommended. Right? So you know that this is not what? Because the hukam is going to change based upon what the author he says.
It is recommended for the one who enters the lavatory to say, in the name of Allah, I seek refuge in Allah from the evil of all that is evil, or the male and female demons.
Based upon, look at the Arabic jihad, because you can read Arabic. Based upon the statement, min al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith. Two different riwayat. This is why he mentioned here, he says, or. So in the I seek refuge in Allah from the evil and all that is evil, or the male and female demons, and from the cursed, filthy shaitan.
And when he departs, he would say, all praises be to Allah who rid me of harm and gave me health.
Right.
He should put forward his left foot when he enters and his right when he exits.
Right. And even though it mentions here, we just mentioned this just briefly, not for confusion, but by way of that which is fada'il, by way of that which is excellent actions and dhikr of Allah and things to say, that which is R.E.D.A. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that which has been collected, that is authentic from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, here is ghufranak. Then the addition is something that's not marfu', is not necessarily connected to the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but it's still no harm in saying it. By way of fada'il, by way of virtuous things and dhikr to say. But that which is affirmed from the Prophet ﷺ is ghufranak. Right? Some of the ulama, they mention the hikmah behind saying ghufranaka when you leave out. Why you leave out the bathroom, you do anything haram or whatever, you ask Allah for forgiveness. Some of them said because of the time that you were in there, that you were deprived of being in the remembrance of Allah. You can't mention the name of Allah Ta'ala when you're in the state of doing that. So the time that you were deprived and not being able to be in the dhikr of Allah Ta'ala, this is one of the wisdoms behind saying ghufranak. But even whether we use that illah or that hikmah, the Prophet ﷺ, this is what he said, and this is what we follow.
So what is the translation right here is neither one of those. Neither one of these are saying ghufranak.
And when he departs the translation, he would say, all praise to Allah who rid me of harm and gave me health. He didn't mention ghufranak in the translation. He didn't mention.
SubhanAllah, the main one.
He didn't mention in the translation ghufranak.
He should not enter with anything bearing the mention.
Go back to C.
Okay. He should put forward his left foot, and when he enters, when he enters, and when he enters, he should, and when he enters, and his right when he exits.
Also here, recommended for the one who enters the laboratory to say. a we say a taqdeer or something that's not mentioned here, we need to make clear is that you don't say this when you enter into the actual place that you're going to use the toilet, mentioning the name of Allah. This is to be said before. And some people make the mistake by, of course, reading English translation or misunderstanding it, is that it says when you enter the lavatory, it says say. All right? When you enter the lavatory, it says say. Rather, you should say this, make it clear, before you enter into the lavatory. Then you enter with your left foot. When you exit, you should say gufranak when you exit the area in which you relieve yourself. Whether it be an area that is specific for relieving yourself or an area that you chose to relieve yourself in, you say it when you exit that spot. Tayyib. Also, putting forth the left foot first when he enters and putting forth the right foot when he exits. There's no clear narration of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ that mentions this, although we know by way of the habit of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ in which he taught us that everything that was for at-taqreem, wa tashrif, wa tafdil and everything, he would put the right, he would utilize the right, whatever it may be, first. Tayyib? And those things that were going into things that were not considered to be of tashrif or taqreem or anything like that, then we utilize the left or removing najasa or any of those types of things. So by way of the habit of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, then we know that the putting forth of the left foot first is something that is best, and exiting with the right foot first is that which is something that is from the...
Was that term tayammun?
التيمم, yeah, في كل شيء في تناوله وترجله في شأنه كله. No, everything that the Prophet ﷺ used to like to do with التيمم. D.
He should not enter with anything bearing the mention of Allah except for a need.
Except for a need. And this is something that is not necessarily haram, but it's something that a person should avoid. Unless he fears that if I put this book or this Quran or anything, I'm in a public place and I leave it, someone would take it. I need to guard it or preserve it, or you have no choice but to take it in there with you. Another thing from the modern day issues the ulama were asked about is the jawal that has the remembrances of Allah and Quran in it, and of course they, after they have give fatwa that this is not considered to be something that you can't take inside of there.
You cannot.
No, they said this is something that you cannot. This is not something that you cannot take inside.
So this is something
you can take inside there. Yeah. English sometimes is our English.
No, it's a negative.
Anyway, no.
We're talking about the phone, right?
The phone. Yeah. You can take it in there. Right, now he moves on to the etiquette, the adab of Qada al-Hajj.
You could say for the last paragraph number D, it's just makruh.
Just makruh, yeah.
Because he didn't mention here in Qudam rahimahullah, he didn't say this is haram or makruh. He said just ولا يدخله بشيء.
No.
Etiquette.
Let me mention one point here. No, go ahead.
Etiquettes of defecation and urination.
No.
When he squats, he should put more of his weight on his left leg.
So this is when the people, and Sheikh Muhammad showed us, this is when the people back in the day, or even if the people that go outside of places to use the restroom, now that the person will put more weight on his left leg this way, and one will extend the right, like this, right? And he would lean more forward on the left side in going down, the new one close to the earth, close to the ground, so that in a place that is soft, so that the urine won't splash back up, and we urinate like this. If you're going to sit down. Now we have, of course, places where we sit and it has the toilet under there and water, or the toilet seat that we sit on. But if you're going to use it in that way, then this is the recommended adab in doing that. That's the kayfiyah of how you do it.
And if he was in the outdoors, he must go far and screen himself.
Far and screen himself from the eyes of being seen from people.
I just wanted to mention something on that. I was at Westside Shopping Center today. It's like a deli. And you know that storefront is like a bunch of stores, and it's like a lot of people. And the lady actually told her son to urinate right in front of the store, in front of everybody. And she kind of like caught eye contact with me, and I was like, and it just dripped all down. And then he just, of course, he didn't make
SubhanAllah.
nothing.
The Sunnah of the Prophet, he warned us away from doing this for tariq and nas.
And that happened today. I said, SubhanAllah.
SubhanAllah.
So,
in the Muslim countries. Yeah.
No, I seen it. I saw it too. I saw it too. Yes. Yep. I saw it in Egypt.
C, he must seek a soft spot to urinate on, so the urine doesn't spatter back on him.
That's the reason. So he seeks a place that is not like salb, not like concrete. So he goes away from an area that is concrete or has clay or ground that is hard. He goes to an area that is soft soil or grass.
No, but what about when some of the men go into the hammam and they stand up?
This is a whole different issue right now.
But you still with the standing up and urinating, just it splashes
water.
back on their clothes.
The issue here is if the water splashes back. The issue is to make precautions, or whatever way you're doing it, to make precautions that the water doesn't splatter back.
Right.
This is the mas'ala here, though. We're not dealing with the mas'ala now of standing up or sitting there.
Just a side point, and the toilets we use nowadays, aiming at a certain portion of the toilet would actually make it not hit you more.
No, there's ways if you had to do that. There's ways. There's ways. Also, there is if you go into a very nasty, very dirty place, which sometimes, unfortunately we go in and not knowing, and it's really filthy, and you don't have anything to really clean up your area to sit down, then you put your clothes up really good or remove your clothes to the best of your ability. And a way that you can help that is because we said also what? If the way the balagha khullatan, aw kana jariyan, take the thing and flush. Make the water flush. Make the water go down. Right? This is one of the things that I do if I enter one of those places where I can't sit and it's very bad. Then if I have to stand, I keep the water going. Okay? And try to protect yourself from the splashing of any type of najas. Ittaqullaha mastata'tum.
He must not urinate in a hole, grove, path, beneficial shade, or under a fruitful tree.
This is also based upon the statement of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ that has come in the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, he warned the people of doing these particular things, as he mentioned that these areas are the places, some of them are places of the homes of the jinn, as well as animals that can come out and harm you. We have a narration that I mentioned, or that I put in my notes on the authority of Qatada, or statement on Athar, that Qatada said, "Yuqal innaha masakinu jinn," that these are the places that the jinn dwell, and a person would not be safe, that either this jinn can come out and harm them, or an animal that lives inside of this particular hole can come out and harm them. A snake, a scorpion, or any type of thing that you don't notice down in there, it can possibly come out and harm you. It is also from the Sunan, from the hadith of the Sahih of Imam Muslim, that he mentioned the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Ittaqul la'inain." قالوا ما اللa'inain يا رسول الله؟ قال الذي يتخلى في طريق الناس أو في ذلهم. He said, fear those things that will cause the person to be cursed. They said, what is this that cause the person to be cursed? He said, urinating in the path of the people, like the woman told her son to do in the street, or under the places where they take, under the trees where they take beneficial shade from. This is something that will cause the person to be cursed. So if this is something that causes the person to be cursed, then this has to be what? The way we understand it from our legislation is what? Kabira min al-kabair. This is a major sin. Something that is a major sin. Tell you.
Amazing. I'm just thinking of how we was taught, like, go behind that tree. Like, that was the main spot. I don't know. He must not face or give his back towards the Qibla, because of the saying of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not face the Qibla while defecating or urinating, and do not give your back to it. That would be permissible indoors.
Right. So the fuqaha, the ulama, they have given us the ruling based upon their ijtihad as well as the hadith of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on authority of Abdullah ibn Umar, that the general ruling is in the place where there is no barrier between you and the Qibla, no walls or anything like that, then it's impermissible for you to face the Qibla using the relieving yourself or to give your back to the Qibla, right? Based upon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. And unless it is a situation where you are in a place where there's the bunyan, a place that has been built for you to go in there and use the restroom, then it is meant to say that there's no problem. As Abdullah ibn Umar, he said that he climbed on the roof of the house, Beit Hafsa, his sister, who was the wife of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he saw the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam using the restroom in which his back was to the Kaaba and he was facing Sham. So his back was facing the Kaaba in Medina at that time. So we would say his back was facing the south and he was facing the north. As it comes in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said what? وَلَكِنْ شَرِّقُوا أَوْ غَرِّبُوا. Rather don't put your back or face the Qibla, rather face to the east or the west, right? The address was to what? Ahlul Medina, the people of Medina. Because at that time, or not at that time, but now, Sham is where?
North.
Is north. And the Mecca is south of Medina. So don't face north. If you face north, then what? Your back is going to be towards the Qibla. If you face south, then you're going to be what? Facing the Qibla. But if you turn east or west, as he said, وَلَكِنْ شَرِّقُوا أَوْ غَرِّبُوا, then you're not facing anyone. But with the istifna of you being inside of a boundary. It also came from the narration of Abu Ayyub, in which he said when they went to Sham, they found the people that they had built the toilet places in which they were facing the Qibla. They found the people they had built the toilet places in which they were facing the Qibla. And this is something that they asked about because they were concerned about this particular issue here. But the places were inside what? Bunyan. And they said they wouldn't face.
In the translation, he didn't mention Shams wal Qamar.
He didn't mention
Shams wal Qamar.
SubhanAllah. No. He didn't read that. SubhanAllah. So he probably wanted to leave it out. He thought it was from the Mustaghribat of
anyway, this is a makruh, but the other one is muharram.
No.
So
we want to definitely make distinction between these.
Yeah, Ibn Qudama rahimahullah.
Ibn Qudama, he mentioned in the text that the author the translator didn't translate, and that was لا يستقبل شمسا ولا قمرا, that the person does not face the sun or the moon. This is by way of what is makruh. It's not haram. According to Ibn Qudama, it is something that should not be done. But then he moves on, وَلَا يَسْتَقْبِلُ الْقِبْلَةِ, then it goes into another ruling. Right? It changes. Even though Ibn Qudama didn't mention it, we understand to know that this now becomes into a statement that, but clear of the nas, that this goes into something that is now, it is haram. And this is the beauty of, not only having our brother here with us, but when we study these mutun, that you have to study the mutun with a qualified teacher, so that we can know what is to separate between what from what, how to break this down. What does the author mean when he say this? What does the author mean when he say that? How did he transfer from one issue to another issue, from makruh to muharram? Etiquette of cleaning oneself.
Etiquettes of cleaning oneself. When the urine stops, he should milk his penis out from its root to the tip, and then shake it off 3 times.
Okay, this is something also that has been mentioned. There's not necessarily a text to confirm this. This is about, and this is going to differ. This is going to differ by way of individuals and people. Some of the ulama have mentioned that this is something that should not be done from a later conclusion or discovery of medical reasons why a person shouldn't do this, and Allah Ta'ala knows best. But this is by way of also, this is by way of bab of istihbab. It's not by the way of that which is wajib. Okay?
He should not touch his penis with the right hand.
They should.
No, yeah, really.
They should.
This is very important for them, especially these affairs right here.
Come on over, brother.
The etiquette for them.
Yeah.
Bring it here.
Yep. I actually thought, because I know how you two normally are, I actually thought they were when they came. They probably slipped off on y'all because I know how Jazari,
I told him.
he normally comes to classes, and I know he normally sits as well.
Sit here.
Come.
What's your name? Abdul Rahman. Okay, in another place. Not together.
Let me start this one.
No.
Etiquettes of cleaning oneself. When the urine stops,
No.
he should milk his penis from its root to the tip and then shake it off 3 times.
No.
He should not touch his penis with the right hand or use it to wipe himself with stones.
لا يمس ذكره بيمينه. Of course, this is if the person has the capability. Maybe a person can't use their right hand. We know there's an exception to that. A person may only have a left hand, or a person may have an injured right hand, or a person may have a paralyzed right hand, or whatever it may be, and they cannot use their right hand, then we know it's permissible for them to utilize the left hand. But in normal cases, no, that he should use his right hand. For,
This I should not.
I mean, she not use his right hand. Excuse me. Let's go back to this. The person he can't use only but his right hand because of his left hand being something injured, or he doesn't have a left hand, or paralyzed in his left hand, or for whatever reason that his left hand cannot be utilized. Then he uses his right hand.
He should wipe himself odd times and wash himself with water thereafter. If he only wiped, it would suffice him.
So now we're going to the area of al-istinja wal-istijmar. Right? Al-istinja wal-istijmar. Al-istinja, you know the term. Wal-istijmar are 2 terms that are used to purify that which comes out of as-sabilain, the 2 openings from the front and the back. Al-qubul wa-dubur. Right? With water, istinja, or with something that is jamid, something that is a solid object. Here, specifically, as we mentioned, as stones, or whatever establishes that same purpose of removal of that najasa. Okay? Like what we call toilet paper, or napkins, or a rag, a towel. Okay? So he mentions here both. He mentions here you doing both. The author mentions here to do istinja first, right? Or do istijmar first with at least 3, and it be odd. So at the least, one should use 3. If it's toilet paper, then he should use 3 pieces. 1 piece, wipe, take another piece, wipe, and take another piece, wipe.
I have a question. Would folding, or using something that could be folded 3 times and wipe is sufficient for that? So you have big piece, so you wipe and you fold and wipe.
Yeah. That's 3 times.
That's 3 times. And then if he needs more, then it should still be witr, right? 5 or 7 or whatever, or increase according to the amount. that he needs to cleanse and remove the najasa. ثُمَّ يَسْتَنْجِي بِالْمَاءِ. Then, after the istijmar, he makes istinja. This is by way of, min bab of what? By even being more careful or more cleaning yourself properly. Using the istijmar and istinja. Although, one of them will suffice. If you do istijmar and you remove everything with 3, 5 or 9, whatever, khalas, you're good. Some people today don't see the permissibility. I've met people don't see the permissibility of only using toilet paper. Yeah, it's people, gulu or waswas, don't see permissibility. No, you have to use water. Or it is a habit now where the people, they don't use istijmar 3 times, then istinja, they do it together. So they take the water and the toilet paper at the same time and cleanse themselves like that. Now, you know that, right? People do that.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
People do that. No. But to use one for either or. And this is mainly with regards to al-ghaid. So a person uses toilet paper, faqat. He uses only toilet paper. And removes all of the najasa. He doesn't even see it on the toilet paper anymore. Some people consider it to be not something. You have to use water, especially with ghaid. Right? Especially with number 2. But it is what? It is more cleaner. It is more cleanliness because in many cases it's difficult to remove and get everything with just the toilet paper by itself. So the water is something that helps it.
فيه أناس يحبون أن يتطهروا.
No.
يا هذه الآية قيل أنها نزلت في هؤلاء القوم الذين يستجبرون ثم يستنجون. فيه أناس لا تقوم فيه أبدا لمسجد أسس على التقوى من أول يوم خير أحق أن تقوم فيه. فيه أناس يحبون أن يتطهروا والله يحب المتطهرين. نزلت في هؤلاء الناس.
So he said that this ayah that was mentioned in Surah Tawbah about the masjid that was built upon taqwa is more suitable that one should stand and pray in that than the masjid dirar. That they're in this masjid, the people who love to purify themselves. So he said that this verse was revealed about the people that use both istijmar or istinja together, right? And Allah Ta'ala, He loves the people who are mutatahhirin, the people who constantly purify themselves, right?
Wiping would suffice only if the filth which exited didn't go beyond the usual area it touches.
طيب. مسألة. He says إنما يجزي الاستجمار إذا لم يتعدى الخارج موضع الحاجة. That istijmar can only be used if the actual najasa that came out from the behind did not exceed the normal limits of where it should come out from the actual hole it come out from. Mathalan, a person is suffered from diarrhea. You know diarrhea, right? Diarrhea causes ishal, it causes what? It causes it to come out very loose, liquidy, and it goes more than just out of the hole. It's very messy, very good word, right? It goes in more than other places. Istijmar, he said, la yujzi, does not suffice in this situation. Alone, just istijmar. One has to do what? Istijmar wa istinja. Because the najasa has gone from and exceeded the normal bounds in which it normally comes out. And istijmar is also not sufficient to make izalatun najasa. Sahih Shaykh. It's not sufficient izalatun najasa. Izalatun najasa bil ma faqat. Izalatun najasa.
Why in this case إزالة الغائط يجزئ الاستجمار وحده. تتكلم على النجاسات الأخرى.
أيوة.
ليس الغائط.
نعم. فالغائط في العادة come out of the hole. طيب. If it is ishal, then it gets on other part of the body.
Yeah.
When najasa gets on, for example, if najasa got on my arm right here,
yeah.
istijmar la yujzi.
لا يجزئ.
Water. So because it removed itself from the place of its normal and it got on the skin part of the behind or the leg of the thigh, it has to be what? Not istijmar. Because now it's najasa that needs to be what? Izala. It has to be removed. La izalatul najasa illa bil ma. You understand now? This is why istijmar is not sufficient when it exceeds the bounds. Because it has exceeded the limit that's permissible for istijmar. And it becomes now on the body, and removing the izala of the najasa on the body has to be done with water. It can't just be with a piece of toilet paper. So remember, it's very muhim jiddan, because if a person gets some urine on their body, you can't just take a napkin and just wipe it off. You have to remove it with water. Okay?
So if you did it with both.
Or if it's najasa in a place. If najasa goes on the floor or the table, you can't just go, okay, I'm going to take this Kleenex, wipe it up, toilet paper, khalas. No. Wa alaikum salam. You have to pour water on it. Okay? Clean it with water. You got it yet? Jay. SubhanAllah.
Less than 3 wipes that remove the entire filth will not be sufficient.
So if one wipes, according to the author, if one wipes less than 3 times, لا يجزي أقل من 3 مسحات منقية. السلام عليكم شيخ.
إذا درس مهم خلاص مرة ثانية. محمد.
الشيخ محمد. طيب لا يجزي من قدامه, he says أقل من 3 مسحات منقية. What does he mean here? That these wipes, these 3 wipes, must be wipes that are removing the ayn of the najasa. Removing the ayn of the najasa. Now here, he goes on to mention conditions of istijmar. Conditions of istijmar. Right? Or conditions of al-istinja wal-istinjmar. Istijmar specifically here. So right conditions. Of istijmar. It cannot exceed the normal place that it comes out of. That it has to be ثلاث مسحات منقية. Has to be no less than 3 wipes that clean the area sufficiently. And also that which it is cleaning the body with, which is the last one you didn't read that one yet. Read K.
Every pure substance
That it must be tahir.
that could remove the filth may be used for wiping,
Put that down.
except for excrements
That it must
excrements of animals, bones, and sacred
Rawth wal adam.
substances such as food and paper that bear the mention of Allah or the verses of Quran.
So the conditions that he mentioned, that it can't exceed the normal place where the God comes out. That's one. It has to be 3 masahat munqiyah. 3 wipes. And one wipes and makes sure that he's cleaning and removing the ayn of the najasa. Alright? 3, that is that what he is using is tahir, is pure. He's not cleansing najasa with najasa. As we mentioned earlier, an example, if you take a piece of an animal, cut off the tail of an animal, right? It has some hair or fur on it, whatever you want to use that as a tool to clean yourself with. It becomes now what? not permissible because the piece of the animal that you cut off become meita. وَكُلُّ مَيْتَ what? نَجِسَ. Every meita is najisa. إلا الآدمي وحيوان الذي يعيش إلا في البحر.
What did it say?
You understand?
Yeah.
So it has to be tahir.
Yeah.
Whatever it is has to be pure. You can't remove the najasa with something that is najis. Clear? Wadi.
And you said conditions for both? Or?
Conditions for istijmar here. We're talking about istijmar.
Okay. So you were saying if
We mentioned that it has.
if it exceeds, you said if it exceeds the bounds when it comes out, then you cannot just use istijmar.
You can't. Has to be istinja.
Okay.
Along with after you wipe, you have to use water as well. Can't just suffice. La yujzi. You can't just suffice with istijmar.
Okay.
ثلاثة مسحات منقية. 3 wipes that cleanses the area and removes the ayn of the najasa. That it be tahir, that what you're making istijmar with is tahir, as the author he mentions. Every pure substance that removes filth may be used for wiping, except, then he mentions ar-rawth, wal-idham, ar-rawth, which is the dung of the animal, cannot be used even if it gets hard like a rock, a stone, you still can't use it. Okay? Al-idham or adham, or the bones, you can't use it. Even though it's something that's hard, something like a stone, you can't use it. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned that these are what? The food, what? Min ikhwanikum min al-jinn. This is the food of your brothers from amongst the jinn. طيب. وَمَا لَهُ حُرْمَةٌ, anything that is considered to be something that should be respected and honored. You're not going to cleanse yourself with food. You're not going to cleanse yourself with pages like this. You take these pages if you find, and then you want to cleanse yourself with these pages that have this knowledge on it, or something with the name of Allah on it, any type of book of ilm or anything like that. You're not going to take that paper, and you're not going to wipe yourself. Although some Christians, they won't have any problem with taking the pages of their Bible and cleanse themselves with using this paper. Right? No hurma. They have no hurma for what it is that they say they believe in. So you have those conditions, right? You have those conditions, Abdul Razak.
What you said tahara, right?
The conditions for istijmar. Inshallah, we'll take wudu after salat. Salat should be in a few minutes. 5 minutes.
Do you see? You've been here for a while, Dad.
So your mother's here? Oh, I was about to say we could have had it turned on. Inshallah.
But there's some sisters upstairs, though. That's my mom and my sister.
Oh, so
They up there?
They came in.
SubhanAllah. Even in the cases like this, if they did attend that many, we could put the sisters even in the back of the table behind that wall right there.
I used to think about that.
Instead of having, sometimes we have to think out the box instead of, in affairs like this where they really need to hear, really need to make sure that. But I don't think they came. They came later. They didn't come.
They
probably waiting on you.
They came before when y'all were a few minutes.
When we restart, ask them, we can turn the microphone.
A few hours after.
We'll stop here. بإذن الله تعالى والله تعالى أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.